This is the ITV News at 5:30 with Sascha Williams.
As world leaders gather at the UN, the hopelessness in Syria is made worse by the lack of a plan to stop the violence. Also on the programme, the schoolgirl missing with a teacher twice her age and her parents' desperate appeal. And heading for trial in the US, the radical Muslim cleric Abu Hamza loses his fight to stay in Britain. Welcome to the programme. The international envoy to Syria says the civil war there is threatening to spill across the Middle East and is extremely bad and getting worse. That assessment, given at the United Nations, was mirrored by what an ITV news crew has been filming on the front line in the rebel city of Homs. It is a shattered city of ruined buildings, broken spirits, hidden snipers, and on every corner the risk of death. Our international editor Bill Neely and cameraman Tony Hemming sent this report on the battle for Homs between the rebels and government forces. So those world leaders Bill Neely mentioned will meet today, with the words of the new international envoy Lakhdar Brahimi ringing in their ears. The diplomat with the seemingly impossible task of bringing peace to Syria says not only is the violence getting worse, but he has no plan on how to end it. From the United Nations, our correspondent Robert Moore reports. The distraught mother of a 15-year-old girl who's disappeared to France with her maths teacher said her daughter is a home-loving girl who never gets into trouble and never stays out later than 7 o'clock. Megan Stammers is believed to be with Jeremy Forrest, who got married last year and is twice her age. Megan had been having extra maths lessons after school. Our social affairs editor Penny Marshall reports. And more now on that from our Europe correspondent Emma Murphy, who sent us this from Calais during the night. Emma Murphy in Calais there. The long legal battle by the radical Islamic cleric Abu Hamza to stay in Britain finally looks to be over. He and 4 other suspects have lost their case at the European Court of Human Rights and could be put on a plane to the United States within days. They're wanted there on terrorism charges. Our UK editor Lucy Manning explains. There have been warm words of tribute to the British soldier who died after a shooting inside a military base in Afghanistan. Captain James Townley died on the eve of his 30th birthday. He had a first-class degree from Oxford, where he rode for his college. His commanding officer said James was an exceptional officer, a great character and unbelievably clever. It was impossible not to be drawn in by his passion and humour. Both Scotland Yard and the ministerial watchdog have ruled out inquiries into what the Chief Whip, Andrew Mitchell, said to a police officer manning the Downing Street gates. Mr Mitchell has apologised again, this time publicly, but he still wouldn't say what he did say. That's angered the police union, which says in effect Mr Mitchell is calling the officer involved a liar. Our deputy political editor Chris Shipp has more. A senior Scotland Yard detective has been charged with misconduct for allegedly leaking information to the News of the World. Detective Chief Inspector April Cutburn is accused of offering to give information to the newspaper. She will appear in court next month. Her husband and 3 members of his family have been jailed for life for murdering his pregnant wife during an apparent attempt to rid her of an evil spirit. Mohammed Tousif Mumtaz was found guilty of smothering her to death at their Birmingham home in 2009. A swimmer who brought this year's university boat race to a halt spoilt the race for thousands of spectators and the 2 teams' crews, a court heard. Trenton Oldfield denies the charge of causing a public nuisance. And 4,000 jobs are hanging in the balance at the retailer JJB Sports after it announced plans to appoint administrators. The company has 180 stores. It has suffered falling sales and rising competition from the internet. ITV News has evidence of how hand grenades of the type used in the murder of 2 female police officers make it into the hands of British criminal gangs. The use of them is rare. There have been around 14 cases in 3 years in the UK, most of them in the northwest of England. Our crime correspondent John Clements has this exclusive report. The former England football captain John Terry has been at Wembley defending his reputation. The Chelsea player appeared in front of an independent panel of the Football Association over accusations he racially abused the QPR player Anton Ferdinand. Terry has already been cleared of that in court. The FA investigation could take 4 days. Well, time for a look at the morning's paper now, and the Mirror leads with the plea from the mother of Meghan stammers. "Sweetheart, I don't care what you've done, just come home," the headline there. The Mail questions why the school didn't stop Meghan's relationship. It says staff at the missing teenagers' school were warned of this relationship 7 months before the pair went to France. The other story on the front page is that there'll be tough new curbs on high-stake gambling machines, which allow people to wager £100 a spin and as much as £1,800 an hour. The Lib Dems are campaigning for this to be cut to £2 a spin. Well, The Sun has another front page dedicated to the Andrew Mitchell saga. It claims that long and frustrating day that the minister talked about included lunch at one of the UK's poshest curry houses, hence the headline there, Spindaloo. Now, the Daily Telegraph has published that Andrew Mitchell incident in full. It's published 442-word police log. It also says on the other side of the paper that Army reservists are suffering discrimination from British employers who are refusing to hire them because of their service in the armed forces. That, according to the former head of the Territorial Army, the Duke of Westminster. The Express leads with that news that Abu Hamza lost his appeal against extradition. Abu Hamza also making the front page of The Guardian, but the main story there focusing on the children caught up in Syria's war. Now, the paper says most of the 31,000 refugees at the Zaatari camp are children, and it does picture one of them there, Mohammed, who's 11, who saw his home destroyed by shelling. Well, that is the way your news is looking this morning. This is the ITV News at 5:30. Our top story this morning. The international envoy to Syria says the civil war there is threatening to spill across the Middle East and is extremely bad and getting worse. That assessment given at the United Nations was mirrored by what an ITV news crew has been filming on the front line in the rebel city of Homs. It is a shattered city of ruined buildings, broken spirits, hidden snipers, and on every street corner, the risk of death. Our international editor Bill Neely and cameraman Tony Hemming sent this report on the battle for Homs between the rebels and government forces. And that is it from us this morning. Daybreak is next here on ITV1. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow. Meanwhile, from all of us here for now, it's goodbye and thanks for watching.